What's up, everyone? I know we're currently in the middle of Marvel month, but I was recently able to sit down and chat with my friend, artist, and creator Jonboy Meyers, and today we're going to share that conversation with all of you. We cover his work on Teen Titans, create our own comics, along with the state of the comic industry in general, and a bunch more. I will mention that we had a small audio issue with his mic, and while we did clean it up as much as possible, you're still going to hear some slight popping sounds here and there. Just wanted to let all of you know so you didn't think your audio was glitching. Anyway, be sure to stick around until the end of the episode because we're going to be giving you guys details on how you could win some amazing original art drawn and signed by Jonboy himself. With that said, let's jump into today's Artist Alley. What's up, Variant Nation? We are here with the lovely Jonboy Meyers once again. Longtime fans of the show know we've had him on the show in the past, I believe twice before, talk about Spawn, some of the stuff he was working on about 2 or 3 years ago, but it's been so long. He's my buddy. I had to have him back, so.
It's good to be back, man.
Right now, you're doing a lot of covers for DC. You worked on Spawn. You launched Teen Titans for DC Rebirth. You did Inhumans for Marvel and a bunch of other stuff for video games, World of Warcraft. Tell them who you are. I know I kind of just did that, but I'm sure you've done way more than that.
For those of you guys who don't know me, hey, thank you for having me on, Eris. My name is Jonboy Meyers. I am a comic book and concept artist, so I do stuff for video games and things like that. Like some of the companies I've worked for is Riot Games, working on League of Legends. Blizzard, I worked on Hearthstone. Sony, I worked on lots of stuff like Twisted World games and stuff like that. This is years and years ago for Sony. And I've done a ton of stuff in comics. I've worked in comics professionally now for almost like 20 plus years. So I've done stuff, like you said, some of the recent stuff I've done is rebooting Spawn with Todd McFarlane and Paul Jenkins, revamping the Teen Titans with Teen Titans Rebirth, and revamping the Inhumans with Royals with Al Ewing. And I just ran a Kickstarter just recently to raise funds to print up a sketchbook and to also self-fund a creator-owned series I'm working on called Princess Dragon Killer. So after 20 years of working on other people's stuff, it's kind of nice to kind of focus on something and do something that's 100% me. So
awesome. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today, but I do want to start with the last thing you mentioned, which is your creator owned, because that's, creator owned is like huge right now in comics. It's like, why would you not want to do a comic book where like you can do whatever the heck you want, don't have to answer to a publisher? Right. So tell us, because I know it's kind of top secret. I don't know what you can or cannot say, but Princess Dragon Killer. I would imagine from the title, it's a princess that kills dragons.
Yes, it's one of those self-explanatory titles, but the basic premise of the book, without giving too much away, is she's basically the last elven princess on her world, and basically the dragons were originally the protectors of their world, and then one of them, something happens through a means of magic. They all gain free will, and they figured out, like, wait a minute, we're all powerful. Why are we protecting everybody? Hey, let's just rule this whole world. So they start by like, hey, first people we want to take out is we want to destroy the elves, because the elves are the most magical beings on that world. So like, well, let's take out our competition. So they destroy all the elves, and there's only this one last elven princess left, and she finds this magic sword, and she vows to kill all dragons. So so that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm kind of underselling it here. I don't want to give too much away, because last time I talked about a project or an idea, I had friends kind of borrow some of those ideas.
Okay, yeah, I feel you.
So I'm like, thanks, guys. So I've learned my lesson, so I want to keep my mouth shut. But I should have something probably ready to show, probably sometime May, June, July. As soon as I have that ready, I'll send it over to you. Take a look. And let me know.
Well, once you you can start talking about it, or even the first issue, maybe we'll just have to have you back on.
Yeah,
and
dude,
talk about it more in depth.
We can do some giveaways around that too.
Yeah. Jonboy always gives us stuff to give away and some great stuff. So he does the covers for everything too. So if you like Flash, Spider-Man, whatever, he's probably drawn it. He'll sign it, and then we could give it to you guys, which is fun.
Yeah, you know what we'll do for this? I can send you a couple prints and everything, maybe some signed comics for yourself, and then maybe for some of your listeners. However you want to do it.
Okay.
With me, I'll just put together a little swag bag like I did and send it off. Like, hey, do whatever you want to do with it. So,
well, hell yeah, you hear that, guys? So we're gonna do a giveaway. Probably at the end of this episode, I'll tell you guys how to enter said giveaway for a Jonboy swag bag. So. Thanks, man.
My pleasure, man. And you did touch on something that's really important to me that you kind of hinted on, is a lot of creators now are going like creator own and stuff like that. I think I can only speak for myself. I think after 20 plus years of working on stuff for Marvel and Image and DC, I love working with those guys, I love working with those companies. I think that the main thing in those is all that stuff you create kind of feeds that machine, and they kind of own. You get paid one rate. That's it. So you're really not going to see extra money from that. You're not going to see anything. So if they make a toy out of it, I've had toys that Robin design I did for Teen Titans that's been in a couple toys now. I don't see any of that.
I have it. The Toys R Us exclusive with a DC Multiverse with the King Shark head, and then the DC Icons line, the 2-pack with Superboy. So I have your Robin on my shelf at home.
Oh, see, that's awesome. I think that's great. It's just we don't get anything of that.
Oh, it sucks.
So a lot of creators now, like, you kind of hit a point when you're working as an artist in the industry where you kind of want to do more. You feel like you have something more to say. And for me, I also want to write as well as draw. So that kind of facilitates that. Like, hey, look, because I don't know, a lot of people don't know, like, the basic premise plot to Teen Titans Rebirth was actually my plot. And then Ben Percy came in with DC editorial, and he took some of it and then changed a lot of it. So, which is cool, but at the same time, you're like, oh, I couldn't tell you what could have been. It would have been awesome, but that's the nature of things, how things go. So the reason why I think it's important going creator owned is, like you said earlier, is you don't have to worry about editorial, anybody else bringing it down your back. You can really tell the story you want to tell, do the art style that you really want to do, and just go as crazy as you want. And kind of see what happens. So I wish more creators would do that, but I think a lot of creators are trending to that these days, because no one wants to stay where they're at creatively. Right. I think they want to continually evolve. Just as like your podcast grows, you're not just reviewing comics now, you're doing movies, you're doing toys, you're doing video games, doing all this stuff now. And it's kind of like, hey, look, I'm not limited by this one thing. There's other things that I want to discuss and bring to the table. And I think that's a great way to do that. Like, it's just that progression, you know what I mean? Where you start is not where you end. So.
Well, staying in the creator world topic real quick. So what in your personal opinion, I'm sure everyone has a different opinion. It's probably, people may like this, may like that, but there's lots of ways you could do creator owned nowadays, right? You could do like independent, do a Kickstarter. That's, like creator owned, but then Image is also creator. You own all the rights, right? Like obviously they take a cut from the profit. They have to, but end of the day, if you get a TV show, you get a movie, you get an action figure, that's all the creators. So what would you personally say is like the better way to go? You think there's a difference at all, or what are your thoughts?
I'm hoping once my pitch is done that Image will pick it up. I talked to Eric Davidson a while back, and he said, hey, look, just whatever you come up with, just send it to us first. Let's get eyeballs on it. We'll let you know if we'd be interested in it. He said chances are it'll be pretty good. So I was like, okay, great. So I just got to come up with something interesting. I like doing a physical product just because I like supporting the direct market. I love working with retailers, and I want to do something to support my comics market. So it's important to me. But if I didn't get a publisher to pick it up, because I'm just looking for somebody to distribute for me, I'm self-financing this. So I've had plenty of offers for other companies already to say, hey, look, we'll pay you a page rate, we'll pay for this. We just want to own this much percentage of your property, whatever you're working on. And it's kind of like, I kind of already went down this road with DC, Marvel, and Image already, working on Spawn and Teen Titans. I kind of don't want to do that. It's like, hey, look, I kind of want to bet on me. So, like, I designed all this really cool stuff already. Like, let me design some cool stuff that I own and stuff like that. That way, if I do get a deal or something like that, a development deal, then that money goes to that could be my retirement. I'm definitely not doing this just to get a development deal. I'm just doing it because I have a story I want to tell,
right?
And I want to be able to write and draw. So that's why I'm doing it, and I want to do it in the direct market. But if that doesn't happen, then I think doing a Kickstarter route would be incredibly successful, because I did one for a sketchbook and I did over 40,000.
Yeah, your goal was 5, right?
Yeah, my goal was 5,000. Like, all I needed was 5,000 to print it, and I had some stretch goals to upgrade the book, because I thought, well, if people are investing in the book, then I should at least have X amount of dollars to like upgrade it to something nicer, like a hardcover and a slipcase and EV spot, and put all this, trick it out a little bit so they're getting a really good product. But then the rest I could save to fund my book. So, but I mean, there's plenty of ways you could do it. You can, release it online for free there's companies like Webtoons or Graphite that do web comics or mobile comics online you can watch on your phone. You can just release it free on Facebook. There's a lot of things. I think for me, because I'm trying to make this a living, I want to do it through a distributor, like through Image Comics. If Image is not a viable option, then I'd probably just do a Kickstarter, like something like guys like Morant Michaels does with his books, or even Brian Polito with his Lady Death one. I think the Lady Death one he just did was, I think he raised $200,000 in like the first hour and a half.
Oh, jeez.
Which is like, which is kind of crazy, because that's kind of crushing what Diamond and Marvel are doing. So
I was gonna say. Plus, it's got to be cool, like to see your book on shelves in a comic book store. You know what I mean? Like going because
yeah.
you know, if Image gets it, it's gonna pretty much be everywhere. As long as you know stores are ordering and stuff like that, and it gets good promotion, it's gonna be in a good amount of shops.
Yeah. I think the plan is like, how do I make sure retailers order it? How do they get visibility on it? Because there's always like, you know, there's always a slew of number ones now, thanks to Marvel and DC, you know, kind of rebooting stuff or putting new things out.
All the time.
All the time. And I don't know, like, I'm sure retailers are kind of getting sick of that, but it's, you know, if I do a direct market thing, I got to figure out a good direct market plan to where I can work with retailers, to work with them to find out what their needs are. At the same to where they can make it returnable or do this or do that. Like the idea is for me to make a living out of this, but for them also, I don't want them to feel like they're stuck with product or being forced to order something because they have to in order to get their numbers or things like that. Like, I think there's a better way to treat your partners to where everyone can win and make money instead of just, you know, I don't like the idea of like sticking them up at gunpoint and saying, okay, in order to get these books, you have to order this many of these. It's kind of, you've got a captive audience already. You don't want to hold them at gunpoint to say, you know, turn out your pockets and give me what you got. You know, it's kind of turning. I know talking with some retailers, they kind of feel that way. So, which I think we need to do a better job, because it goes to a bigger conversation that we were talking about earlier about, you know, the shrinking direct market. You know, comics had two, you know, for since I think the 70s on. Up until now, comics has always had two markets, which was the newsstand market and the direct market. And that made plenty of money for everybody. Distribution was like, sales were in the millions of copies per issues for everyone. Like most comics were like in the 70s and 80s, like 600,000.
Well, I'm sure we can go talk about this forever. There's just so much to talk about it, but I do want to bring up some actual art stuff, because you are an artist after all. So I know personally for me, I was a big fan of DC Rebirth. DC Rebirth I thought was awesome. I love, you know, the one-shot issue that Jeff Johns did. Like, you know, New 52 had a lot of mixed emotions. I personally didn't hate the New 52 as much as a lot of people. It's kind of split. It seemed like half people really liked it, half people were like whatever. I thought there was a lot of good titles come out of it. Obviously, there was a lot of bad titles come out of it. But at the same time, what Jeff Johns did, I'm a huge Jeff Johns fan, so I think he really got back to the roots of why people love these characters in the first place. It's all, you know, DC is all about hope, all about truth, love. Like, it's all about the core, their legacy characters, which unfortunately is what I feel like they're missing a lot in their DCEU. They're trying to course correct that. Like, Shazam looks great, Aquaman was good and stuff like that. But I think, you know, in the earlier movies, you know, they were still trying to find themselves. Anyway, point is, Rebirth was awesome. A lot of good titles come out of it. One of the good titles to come out of it was one of your titles, Teen Titans, with Damian Wayne being the new Robin in there. He's the leader for this version of the Teen Titans. You got the new Wally West in there and all that stuff. But the big thing with it is obviously, you know, you got to redesign a Robin costume, Damian Wayne's Robin costume, which is still currently being used, and you know, it's even got action figures. It's got like 2 action figures based off the costume. So
I know, I think they have more than that actually.
Do they?
Toys too, yeah. It's like, oh, they based it off my design. Oh, that's even my pose. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
So how did you get approached for that? You know, did they want you to redesign the costume? Was it your idea and they just liked it? Just tell us a little bit of what went into that.
When I first got approached to do it, they said, hey, why don't you come to DC? I'm like, oh, I'm working on this Spawn thing. Like, well, you know, come to DC. I was like, maybe. Like, well, we want you to do Teen Titans, and I love the Teen Titans. It's like, okay, well, this might be interesting. So, sure. So while I was waiting around for it, and it took a long time to actually get a physical script, so I'm just like sitting around for 9 months not doing anything. I'm like, they're like, well, you want to do pinups? They're like, well, here's the characters that we're thinking about using. Do you want to use any other characters? I was like, well, what are you guys thinking about? Like, well, we're thinking about these guys. Like, well, let me spin up a couple character designs and we'll see what happens. So that's where that started. This whole model sheet thing and stuff like that. Like, I started doing that stuff and then sending like, okay, here's my design for Robin. Here's my design for Starfire. Here's this, here's that. And that was just kind of done just because I was waiting around. You know,
like, well,
yeah, because like they didn't really care what costumes. They were like, just use the costumes they currently have. That's what their goal was. They're like, yeah, we don't care. And for me, I'm like, whoa. Like, look, we want to create an aesthetic here. For me, this whole Rebirth thing is about nostalgia, what these core characters, like you hit it, these core characters were. I'm like, so I went back to who these core characters were and looked at like, okay, I looked at the Wolfman Perez stuff and said, look, if we're going back to that, these character costumes should invoke a sense of classic look, like Robin, Beast Boy, Raven. All these things should feel like, oh, this kind of feels like the Wolfman runs these characters, so I knew them to be. So, so when you're designing characters, you always want to take what's kind of in the ether of people's mind of who these characters are, and say, you know what? If we do Raven, look, she has to be hooded. She has to be kind of dark and spooky.
Right.
Like, these are things that you have to do with a Raven, you know? With Beast Boy, he has to be kind of bouncy and quirky. You have to do these things with Beast Boy. So when I was doing these designs, I was like, classic colors, have to do this, have to do that. Now with Robins, I was really impressed with my buddy Patrick Gleason, who actually wrote and drew the Robin series before they ended it. I really liked his run. I'm like, you know what? I want to take elements of that, but I want to kind of make it a little bit more practical, because like it feels a little weird to me, because like the design looked a little disjointed. I'm like, look, he's got a martial arts background. Let's work on this stuff, like work like a gi type of look towards the bottom, instead of kind of the half long shirt, which doesn't make sense, because if you look at that where it's just the tails at the bottom and you take the stuff off, it's like he's got a shirt that has a blank square in the front. It's really like, it's like a box. It's like doot, doot, doot. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me unless he tucks the front of it into his waist. It doesn't make any sense. So I was like, okay, well, let's make this look like a coat. Like he has this armor underneath. He puts his tunic on top, and the tunic covers the whole body, and he has this belt, has all this gear. So that was my thinking. I just wanted to do something that felt Robin, that was more practical and made sense. And I'm glad that people are still using that. They've already changed Raven's costume a little bit, and Beast Boy's, where it still feels like my designs, but then there's some things that have changed now.
So yeah, we've been chatting for a bit now. So do you want to promote anything? I know, again, we talked about your book, you got your Kickstarter, but what about website, social media, any future things you haven't told me about yet? Your time to shine.
I am, okay, where do I start? So you guys can always find me. You can always Google me, John Boy Myers. I'm JohnBoy007007 at Instagram, and JohnBoy007007 on Twitter. I have a Facebook page, Art of John Boy Myers, and I'm also John Boy Myers on Facebook. My website is www.johnboymyers.com.
So for anyone who's want to check out John Boy's work, he's done Spawn, he's done Teen Titans Rebirth, and he did Inhumans for Marvel. So that's just some of the comic stuff he's done, but you've done lots of other stuff, which we've chatted about and all that fun stuff. And you're also, like we talked about earlier, are going to be donating some stuff for me to give away here on the show to the Variant Nation. So we're gonna get
absolutely. So what I'll do is I might even throw in a Spawn page of original art. So it's up to you if you want to keep that or if you want to donate.
Oh, great. You can't say that now. Now I have to give it away because everyone will think I'm a jerk if I keep it.
It's okay to be, hey man, it's okay to be a jerk, man.
No,
it's okay.
I will give it away. The Variant Nation more than deserves it, so it will definitely be a giveaway. But I will want it. Know that, guys. I will be tempted to keep it.
I'll see what art I can dig up for you. So if there's an extra page or something, maybe you can keep one for yourself and donate the other. Yeah.
Yes. Generosity works, guys. Yeah. Generosity works. No, but with that said, thanks, John, for being on. Again, we're gonna have to have you on again. I guess whenever issue 1 drops or whenever you're allowed to talk about it. Maybe we could even break some exclusive art for you if you're up to that or stuff.
I could definitely do that.
Okay.
Check that out.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to put all your links and fun stuff in the description below. But other than that, guys, we're out.
Huge thanks to John Boy for stopping by and talking to us. It's always great having him on the show because on top of being insanely talented, he's just a really cool dude. But as promised, we got some original John Boy Myers art to give away. As you saw in this episode, John Boy was nice enough to send over several different signed prints and a signed copy of his book. So we're gonna have 3 winners. The 3rd place winner will receive this awesome Harley Quinn print signed by John Boy. John Boy actually sent an extra one of these for me to keep, as he knows I'm a massive Harley fan, and I've already framed it and hung it in my office, like so. So believe me, whoever wins this is going to love it. The 2nd place winner will be getting this dope Bat Family print signed by John Boy, as well as a signed copy of John Boy's Art Sketchbook Volume 2, which features a bunch of concept art and character pages. It's pretty much a behind the scenes look at some of the work he's done for Marvel, DC, and Image. It's pretty epic. Finally, the grand prize winner will receive this Teen Titans print signed by John Boy, along with a signed original art piece drawn by John Boy for the first page of Marvel Comics Royals Issue 1. That's right, this isn't a print or copy of his original artwork. These are the actual pencils he laid down for page 1 of Royals Issue 1. If you know anything about original comic art, it's not cheap, and one of you lucky people are gonna win it. All you have to do to enter is be subscribed to our YouTube channel and then follow us on either our Variant Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Then share or retweet our Jonboy giveaway post using the hashtag JonBoyGiveaway. You can say whatever you want in your retweet or comment, but you have to use the hashtag JonBoyGiveaway. You have from today, May 7th, till Sunday, May 12th at 11:59 p.m. Central Time to enter. Then we're going to announce the winners on Variant Live on Monday the 13th. So now you know what to do, and I wish you all the best of luck. But that's going to wrap up today's episode, and we'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.